All right, 3, 2, and what's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 3 of the Pressure Cooker podcast. I am your host, Ryan. My co-host, Miss Lethal Saint, is out again. She is out of town. She is on a plane right now. She has sent me her notes, so we will get her side of the story. But joining me this time, it won't be me alone, so y'all don't have to hear my voice for 30 minutes. Joining me this time, I am very pleased to have a special guest. Miss Crasilia is here. Um, do you want to? I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Tell them who you are and how they can find you.
Okay. Yes, my name is Deanna, but I go by Crasilia Love on Twitter. You guys have seen my loud tweets over the last several seasons of Big Brother. So this is my first time, so just go easy on me. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so I kind of strong armed Crasilia into doing this. I reached out to her once LS told me that she was not going to be able to be on tonight, but I've been interacting with her this season over Twitter, and you know, I've been kind of light on my interactions on Twitter with Big Brother because a lot of the fandom is just crazy, especially on there. But we'll talk about it a little bit later. But she's always been real cool, real good vibes. So I'm happy to have her on and we can really discuss the show and what's happened this week. So for those of y'all that are listening for the first time, well, first and foremost, let me back up. You can check out the website at thekidswearcrowns.com. That is our website. That is our blog space. You can go on there, check out our different articles, check out the Kids Wear Crowns podcast collective, consisting of podcasts like Don't Call It a Podcast, which is what this is technically under, as well as our subcot podcast, The Pressure Cooker. We have other podcasts, including We Bringing Love Back and The Barbershop, as well as I know I'm always forgetting one, The Four Eyes Show with AJ. And yeah, so there's a good amount of healthy podcasts on there. It's something for everybody if you want to check it out and see what we are about. You can also check out Miss Crasilia's. Do you have a website or a blog?
I have a blog that I have not used in a couple of years, so they just have to find me on Twitter.
Okay, so just follow her on Twitter. But yeah, so what we're going to do if you are new to this podcast and how it operates, what we do is pretty much go over what we saw in the episodes, but kind of fill in the gaps for those of y'all that don't watch the feeds with what has happened and what has led up to where we are. So if you just saw on the live episode, Swaggy C, Mr. Christopher Jordan Williams, as Bailey calls him, has been evicted by a vote of 8-4. One interesting tidbit that I'm going to get to in a moment is that fourth vote came from somebody that we as feedsters probably didn't expect it to come from. And well, I'm sorry, the eighth vote on the other side came from somebody that we kind of saw coming, but we're going to get to that. And I feel like it's going to spell doom for somebody in another manner. But so Chris has been evicted, victim of a blindside by Caitlin. Caitlin has basically had her HOH ran by Tyler all week. She was duped into thinking that, well, part of it's true that Chris kind of saw her as a liability. And because of that, Tyler was able to pull the strings and give her the attention she wants, and convinced her to put up her own ally and basically tank her game. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Tell me your thoughts on the week as a whole before we dive into specifics.
God, I could not even begin. I don't even know where to start. Um, when it comes to Caitlyn, her main concern was not being controlled by anyone, not being seen as someone who was having her entire, game existence in the palm of their hands. And she then turned around and gave that to Tyler. So it's just kind of like it's kind of ironic in a way. She proved that Chris said he never said that she was a liability, but if he did call her a liability, she proved it. She destroyed her alliance. She
Yep.
started with voting out Steve, and then she continued it by putting someone in her alliance on the block. It's like you're the definition of a liability. So then, yes, last night, well, I don't know how much of I can talk about what's going on in the feeds, but it's kind of like she kind of at the end of her reign decided or became aware of the fact that a lot of what people were saying about her was true. So that was interesting.
Yeah, Caitlin is an enigma wrapped up inside of a head case. Um, she just everything should ring as like crazy to you.
Mhm.
And again, I try and be careful with how I describe some of these people because they are human. They are
Right.
human beings. They are
Right.
people with their own lives
Mhm.
outside of this.
Mhm.
But you should know, seeing the profile of a 23, 24-year-old life coach, that something's
Right.
up with this girl.
Right. Well, yeah, obviously.
Obviously. So
Production definitely saw it.
yeah, but I think the thing is, she's a crazy that we didn't expect. Like when we
Right.
saw her profile on the preseason,
Mhm.
we saw everything about her. I think
Mhm.
a lot of people thought, yeah, this girl's going to be kind of a little bit off. But I don't think
Mhm.
anybody saw her being
Ass off.
crazy ex-girlfriend type off.
Right. Yeah, I didn't anticipate that because I was not able to watch the feeds as much the first week they were up, and I kept reading all these tweets about her behavior and how she was with the guys, and a lot of times the fans they exaggerate a lot. So
Exactly.
at the time, even then when they were saying that, I was like, well, it may not be as bad as they make it. Maybe she's just being really friendly. But then when you witness it for yourself, it's like, holy, like what is happening? And I did not believe she even had a boyfriend.
Yeah. So if y'all haven't heard the news, he has broken up with her.
Mhm.
So they are no longer together. He put out a statement. They are not together.
Mhm.
Um, Caitlyn is definitely a I need your attention at all times. She
Mhm.
had her sights on Fessel.
Mhm.
Fessel was interested in Haley, who's not really
Mhm.
interested in Fessel.
Mhm.
But she had her eyes on Fessel. And when she caught them under the covers, she freaked out and she ran
Mhm.
into Tyler. Now,
Mhm.
credit to Tyler. Tyler was
Mhm.
smart enough to recognize what this woman needs,
Mhm.
and he gave her the attention she wants. The
Right.
issue is that you have to constantly give her attention because, as you've seen on the
Mhm.
feeds, well, anytime Tyler has given anybody else the time of day, Caitlyn freaks out
Right.
and she starts kind of questioning everything and blah blah blah. And there was a chance to flip Caitlyn, which I blame Haley and Rockstar for having the information and sitting
Mhm.
on it too long. They
Mhm.
waited too long to make the move. But there were times when Tyler had to go and fix things with level 6 that
Mhm.
Haley, upon knowing the information on the back door and
Mhm.
presenting that information to Rockstar, did
Mhm.
nothing. They just kind of rolled
Mhm.
over and let it happen.
Mhm.
Which is another reason why I feel like this alliance was doomed to fall apart.
Right.
And I'm going to kind of make my point later why it's good for us now. As much as people don't want to hear it, it's good
Mhm.
for us now that the Secret Six and Falte is falling apart now
Mhm.
instead of in about 2 weeks, which would really set up a situation for a boring season. But I will get to
Right.
that in a little bit. So
Okay.
basically Tyler has been able to run this HOH by giving her this attention. And now
Mhm.
what I'm interested in seeing is based on all these little plates that Tyler's got spinning around. He's got
Mhm.
Caitlyn wrapped up on one finger. And on another
Mhm.
hand, he's got JC. And on another hand, he's got Casey. And on another hand, he's got Scottie roped in, and he's got the bros, and he's got Angela and Rachel, who Rachel is on to him. But he's got all these different balls that he's got to juggle, and
Mhm.
I'm interested in seeing if he can hold on to it.
Right. Um, you know, they like to compare him a lot to season 16 with Derek and how he kind of ran the house. But the thing about Derek is he was able to identify the people who really were not buying his BS and was able to get the target and get rid of them. I don't know if Tyler's going to be able to do that or not because it's a couple of people who are onto him. I mean, Sam is onto him. We hardly see Sam, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, that's Tyler. He's the mastermind. He's doing everything." She sees it, and she is the least social out of everyone because people kind of like isolate her. So she's off doing her cooking or whatever it is in the background. But even she sees it. Angie sees it. Bailey sees it. So they could not, for the life of them, convince Chris that Tyler was not one to be trusted. But I mean, there are people who are onto them, but the people who's onto him, they don't really. I don't see them have the control to really do a lot about it, which is what happened with Derek. He had people in the house who on, Donnie and Jocasta, people who are on the outside, they can see what's going on, but they don't really have the pull with the rest of the house. So it kind of just depends on if Tyler is able to do what Derek did and eliminate people from the game who would be the ones who actually would target him.
See, and here's the difference to me. Derek was aware of his blind spots. He was aware that
It's true.
Jocasta and Donnie did not trust him.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think Tyler's fully aware that
Mhm.
Rachel sees what he's doing,
Mhm.
and Rachel trusts him right now. But
Mhm.
when it's time to flip, because
Mhm.
eventually level 6 has got to eat itself, right?
Right.
Eventually, all those people at a certain point is just going to be them. So
Mhm.
she is going to be the one to make the move. And I don't think he realizes that. I
Right.
don't think he realizes that she's on to him as much as she is. And I honestly believe if she won HOH, she would have found a way to try and backdoor him because the
Mhm.
house is about to become a little bit muddier as far as the alliances are concerned. I don't think he's
Mhm.
concerned about Sam knowing because let's face it, Sam is about to get dragged to Final Five. She's gonna get dragged to jury and be a
Right.
vote in the corner of
Mhm.
whoever she likes the most.
Right.
Um, so and on that flip, let's talk a little bit about because you mentioned everybody was trying to tell
Mhm.
Chris that Tyler's
Mhm.
not the person to trust. So let's
Mhm.
talk about some of his blind spots.
Mhm.
We both talked about before we went on how we liked Chris and his personality and the whole Swaggy C thing, and he was a character. And this is really the first time we've had a black male character coming in to play the game who's not a complete nut job like Devin.
Mhm.
um, or because we've always had the
Right.
black character playing low key
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
somebody put up a good montage when they were making fun of Brett, talking about how Chris looks like Devin from BB16.
Oh,
Somebody
that was
put a
ridiculous.
montage of all of the black male players, and there
Mhm.
have literally been 13. That includes Over the Top.
Mhm.
And so out of those black male players, the only ones that really like made an impact on their season and played well were
Mhm.
Marcellus, Marvin, who
Mhm.
technically invented the back door,
Mhm.
and Kevin from BB11. Like
Yes.
that's about it. Um, Go ahead. Were you gonna say something? Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, yeah, Chris came into play, but I knew it's like I was kind of frustrated when I saw his opening package, his interviews, when he's telling him he's saying his strategy is I'm gonna go in playing hard and then lay low, which is kind of the opposite of what you should do. And it's like he's this very loud personality that I know that the fandom they have a hard time getting behind, especially if they are casuals. And then of course people in the house they don't really like the type of people they cast to play this show, put it that way, don't really, go well with that personality type. So it was like, yeah, he's there to play, but he's not going to be able to play because of his strategy and the people he has to play with. So it's kind of like I knew this day was coming early on, and I had a lot of frustrations in the beginning. I was like mad about it,
Right.
but like I said, it's not even necessary that I even like entirely warmed up to him as much as what his eviction means for the future of the season when the feeds get boring because one side is being picked off. So it was kind of like I needed him to stay for that purpose. But I don't know, but he's a character. He's entertaining. It's a lot of
Exactly.
people that you may not like because they may just be like over the top, their ego's too big. But you also don't want to just watch, you know, Angela and Rachel and KC sit there and stare into space. So
Right.
it's like, yeah. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, so no, I think you're absolutely right on that in terms of Chris was a personality, but there were a lot
Hmm.
of blind spots to his game.
Right, right,
You
yes.
mentioned the first part with him coming in super
Hmm.
aggressive,
Hmm.
and wanting to do that and then laid low. Had he kept his
Hmm.
mouth shut after winning the ability to keep people safe,
Hmm.
I think he could have gone far. But
I
he
did
was
too.
so vocal in Tyler's
Hmm.
HOH and wanting
Hmm.
to keep Steve and everything and saying that he was running the house. I
Hmm.
don't think he realized how much he was rubbing some people the wrong way. And I
Right.
think that brashness and the fact that he fed a lot of information to people he didn't need to feed information to. He fed a
Namely
lot of
Tyler.
information to Tyler. He fed
Hmm.
a lot of information to to even within your own alliance. Like you have to
Hmm.
know, okay, look,
What you can and
Bailey,
can't say. Hmm.
exactly. Bailey's my ace. Haley is
Hmm.
somebody I can trust in the beginning,
Hmm.
somebody I can
Right.
trust, which people are trying to cancel Haley and everything.
Hmm.
Haley's looking out for herself. When she found out that was
Exactly.
going down, she put herself in a position to protect herself. So you can't be mad at
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But he should have trusted the two of them and maybe Rockstar and
Hmm.
kind of just fed bits of information to Fessy and Caitlyn. Where he made a mistake was being so vocal to Tyler, thinking he could trust
Hmm.
Tyler and never
Hmm.
seeing Tyler. Tyler never actively came to be a part of those Faute meetings. And that
Right.
should have ticked something in his mind right
Hmm.
there. Tyler was never active in those meetings. They came to him.
Right.
And it was kind of that inability to stop and really perceive from another point of view
Hmm.
that I think ultimately did him in. And Tyler knew that he was a guy that could win an HOH, get his alliance in his ear, tell him
Hmm.
what's going on, and
Mhm.
then push to get rid of Tyler. That's the
Mhm.
thing. Tyler's not really scared of Rockstar because Rockstar is probably not going to win in HOH anytime soon.
Right.
He's
Mhm.
not scared of Haley because he can kind of reel Haley in.
Mhm.
Fessy's kind of too dumb to really worry about in terms of the game sense.
Mhm.
So he knew he had to come after Swaggy, and that's what I want people to understand. For Tyler's game, he had to get rid of him. What use would?
I don't know if I entirely agree because he was getting so much information from people
Mm-hmm,
who he was cut off from. It and Chris had this like blind loyalty to him where it was like nothing that Tyler did. Chris is the type of person that if you go and you tell him, straight up, I don't like you, then he's like, okay, that person doesn't like me. But if they don't come straight out and say it, I don't think he has the ability to see it. So with Tyler, I don't know if you heard about him bonding with Tyler about their fathers passing away
mm-hmm.
and how they passed away at the same year and they had passed away from the same thing. So he thought he had this bond because of their dads. And that I think is what caused a lot of that blind spot with Tyler. It made a lot more sense at that point because my parents, they died while I was young. So
Mm-hmm.
I was able to kind of emotionally understand why he thought that was such a big deal with Tyler. But Tyler, he just doesn't care.
Right.
That's not his motivation is not coming in to have, this friend that he connects with on an emotional level. So, but I think that is what a big part of why Chris thought he could trust Tyler.
So to add to that too, because you did make another
Mhm.
good point in there. I think something else to point out too is Tyler had to also push for that because of the way he made Caitlyn flip. Um,
Right.
if he
Yeah.
didn't
Good
control
point.
Caitlyn's HOH, a lot of
Mhm.
that info would have came out, and he then would have
Mhm.
had two sides coming after him.
Oh yeah. At that point, he had
Um,
no choice but to follow through. He couldn't once they
yeah,
already did it. Yeah. That's
which
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, I would go as far to say because at the beginning when Caitlyn won HOH, I was like, oh, this is perfect for Tyler. This is the
Mhm.
exact situation that he needed.
Mhm.
But now that I'm looking back in retrospect, he kind of played that first week a little bit too hard to the
Mhm.
point that he needed Caitlyn to win that HOH to protect himself. Well,
Mhm.
no, I'm sorry. That Caitlyn winning that HOH made him have to do what he did to protect himself.
Mhm.
But you can also attribute that to them not really knowing how clingy and crazy Caitlyn
Right.
really is.
Right. Right. Who
Um,
it's I don't know who any how anyone would anticipate that.
yeah, yeah. So I can't blame him there. I really can't. Um,
Yeah.
so okay, so let's talk a little bit about um let's talk a little bit about I mentioned earlier how for viewers it's good
Mhm.
that Falte is crumbling and getting picked apart now as opposed to 2 weeks later
Mhm.
because this is my theory and then you chime in, you tell me how you feel.
Okay.
I think that we were due for a Falte crumble regardless before we got to jury. The reason
Mhm.
why I say that is how unstable that alliance is in
Mhm.
terms of Caitlyn and her volatility,
Mhm.
in terms of Scotty's gullibility, which we'll get to in a
Mhm.
second as well,
Mhm.
and in terms of Rockstar's really inability to keep her mouth shut. Uh,
Mhm.
I think what we were going to see was that if Chris and Bailey could not carry that alliance through HOHs or Haley, if one of the three of them could not carry them through HOHs, they were doomed to get picked off in a few weeks. What we were
Mhm.
probably going to see happen if Caitlyn didn't win that HOH is we were probably going to see if we didn't have this flip and we had just kind of a normal week and Sam gets
Mhm.
evicted but doesn't get evicted and we kind of reset, we would have seen another week where I don't know who goes home, but I
Mhm.
kind of feel like we get to the point where Caitlyn's need for attention eventually drives the alliance apart.
Right.
And eventually she was going to leave and they were
Mhm.
going to be targeted. So
Mhm.
I'd rather that happen now because give it 2 weeks, depending on what Scotty does with his HOH, which we'll get to in a second. I could totally see a point where Rockstar goes, and now we have a muddied picture of a house. Sure, there's
Mhm.
quote unquote level six, but by this time they're on to Tyler, and Tyler's services are no longer needed. Why?
Mhm.
Because why do you need to use him as a shield to take out a JC or
Right.
a Sam or anything of that
Mhm.
nature? JC, who by the way is playing a really good game, JC is not going to be anybody that Rachel, Angela, or Winston or Brett are going to come after. There's no point in quote unquote wasting a week on Sam. So you're going to have those leftover pieces like a Haley and a Bailey, etc., start working to realign themselves and reposition themselves in the house. That's coming
Mhm.
regardless. If
Mhm.
that happens now, then we have the season pick back up in about a week or two when things become a little bit more shifty, when we start seeing Winston's paranoia really take effect. That's when we're going to start seeing things pick up. If we
Mhm.
had 2 or 3 blah weeks where the lesser players go out now and then Falte starts to crumble, well, then we had 6 weeks of predictability. Does that make sense?
I guess a little bit.
Okay. I was
So I'm
kind of
trying to
hoping for
follow
that.
along. I'm trying to picture because so much of it is just it all depends on who wins HOH and
Right.
how much influence Tyler has over them and all this
Right.
other stuff that you try to to include. But I do agree with the part of they were going to fall apart regardless because they are not good allies. Just how they handled Chris, going up and being on the block. And I mean, no one, the main core of that group never came together and said, no matter what, we're voting to keep Chris. Now, what we need to do is go out and figure out how we get JC and Sam to vote
Hmm.
with us. Like, who are obviously like JC, I know he feels like he has this thing with Tyler. I guess he's kind of like his, I don't know what he is to Tyler, but he, based on how their talks they've had, they are working together, and so that's just someone else that Tyler has who's doing things that he wants them to do. So I don't know if they would have been able to, flip him from Tyler, but it's just that even that effort wasn't put in there. So it's hard to have faith in a group that falls apart that easily, that can't even come together. Because if this was the flip side, if this was level 6, it wouldn't be any doubt that all of them were going to vote together.
Hmm.
They would have done that. It would have been, okay, who can we get to flip to vote with us? No, Sacred Six or whatever they call themselves. Um, I call them sacred flops now, but they never were that way. They were too busy trying to secure the votes with each other that they couldn't even put their mindset on going out and getting the votes they need to flip it and get him to stay. So
Exactly.
it's kind of like if you're playing that way right now, I don't see it getting any better because that's not their mindset. Their mindset is to scramble. They're making decisions based on fear, and it's impossible to win Big Brother when you play that way. All they do is buy themselves a couple of weeks to get into jury. They don't
Right.
get. It's like you're not going to win. Like nobody on that side is going to win if they keep playing the way they are playing. If they keep playing the way that they played when someone in their alliance was directly targeted, and they did not do anything to try to to save them.
That's what utterly kills me is they had the opportunity to recap for those that don't know. Caitlin told, I think it was Haley first, about
Hmm.
what the plan was before Swaggy was ever before the veto was ever even played. Caitlin knew of the Haley knew of the plan. Haley goes to Rockstar and says and lets her know, hey, Swaggy's the target. He's gonna be backdoored. You can't tell Caitlin or you can't say anything to Caitlin about it because I wasn't supposed to tell anybody. She'll know I told you. What
Hmm.
Rockstar should have done in this moment, because she sat on this for a day, and this is exactly what she did, but was a day late, dollar short. She
Hmm.
should have at that moment said, no, Haley, we need to stop this, because they
Right.
could have stopped it because Caitlin was in an emotional state where she would have listened and she would have considered not doing it. Um, the issue, the problem, the mistake that was made was Rockstar sat on it, and then she tried to kind of get the flip to happen, and it didn't work. Haley's
Hmm.
close with Caitlyn. She should have made that point. Haley kind of rolled over on it. There was enough
Hmm.
time to save Chris and keep the alliance
Hmm.
together,
Hmm.
but she decided in that moment that I'm going to position myself for the next week, which is
Hmm.
fine. She started pulling away. She started getting close, trying to get close with Tyler, all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. The other issue that arose was that with Chris, with Swaggy himself, he had the chance to really, and again, this kind of goes to like you were saying, him really
Hmm.
trusting Tyler.
Right.
He is in a position where after meeting with Caitlyn, he could possibly flip the vote. But
Hmm.
Tyler was right there, and Tyler was able to hear every single statement
Right.
that Swaggy made and flip it back when he was talking to
Hmm.
Caitlyn about
Hmm.
why they have to go through with it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I had mixed feelings about that too, though. About I kind of understood why he did it because it was kind of just It's because once they go and they talk separately, they switch what's said. So it's kind of like if we're all on the same page, we all see what he's saying. It's easier to. I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like if it has the pros and cons to it because Caitlyn would have went and repeated what Swaggy told her, and Tyler would have just sat there and be like, "Well, that's not true." So
Yeah,
it
and I get that
is
part.
right.
I think my thing is as headstrong as Caitlyn can be sometimes.
Mhm.
I feel like if Swaggy really pulled at those emotional strings and he
Mhm.
really got her to feel that way, and at the same time he was pulling those strings on Sam, and he was
Mhm.
able to get Caitlyn to say, you know what, I'm not sure if I
Mhm.
want to do this. Then when Tyler
Mhm.
comes in and tries to flip it, she's gonna listen to Tyler, but she's also
Mhm.
gonna be like, you weren't there, you didn't hear what he said.
Right.
You weren't you don't know. My spirit guides, my
Maybe
intuition is telling me
she's
not to do
crazy.
this. Right. So I feel like
You never. It's hard to predict crazy people. That's why
exactly.
I don't keep friends with them.
I kind of feel like she would have been more defiant. Maybe
Mhm.
ultimately she still goes through with the plan, but I feel
Mhm.
like he has a better shot if he talks to her one on one.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Tyler's thing, the other thing that I think is going to get him caught up is he does not do well in conversations that aren't one on
Mhm.
one. When it's one on one and he can control the
Mhm.
conversation, he's
Mhm.
perfect. When other
Mhm.
people get involved, he kind of pulls back a little bit because he's got kind of these miniature lies that he's told to different people.
Mhm.
And with these miniature lies kind of out there, you can't say too much because then if
Mhm.
they start kind of, if they, well, no, you
Right.
told me blah, 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 then those notes
Right.
start getting
Right.
compared. Then he's in trouble.
I think his problem is going to be with Caitlyn because she is emotionally draining. He may want her to leave sooner than later. Like I would not be surprised if he pushed for her to leave. If he like instead of trying to protect, I don't know who Scotty is thinking about putting up, but I would not be shocked if somehow Caitlyn becomes someone that they decide to go after because she's gonna drain Tyler to the point where he's not gonna be able to do anything
Yeah.
because he's gonna be so frazzled with having to deal with her all the time, and he can't like blatantly push her away because then all the crazy's gonna come out. So that's I think will be his downfall if he doesn't get her out of the house sooner than later.
So speaking of which, let's talk about Scotty's HOH. He wins the
Okay.
HOH. I was kind
Hmm.
of rooting for Rockstar HOH as it'd be
Me
a little
too.
bit,
Everyone was.
yeah, it'd be a little bit less predictable. And then I was kind of, dear God, rooting for Fessy HOH,
Right.
which then he blew it. So now we have
Hmm.
Scotty,
Hmm.
a little bit less predictable. So
Hmm.
it's not going to be as boring as a Rachel HOH. So thank God for
Hmm.
that.
Right.
Um, but I am curious because I feel like anybody but Tyler could be Scotty's target.
Right.
I don't believe he quite believes the bros in terms of um that they voted for him to stay and two of his
Hmm.
alliance members flipped. I
Hmm.
don't think he believes that for a second.
I
Uh,
hope you're right.
I, Now, what I am interested in, what I am intrigued about is
Uh,
he seems to have, in the last day or two, really positioned himself to play the hinky vote and play the blame
mhm.
game.
Right. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, based on Swaggy's interview, he said that Scotty is
Right.
the one that came up with the idea to wear the shirts.
Right. I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of I'm kind of impressed. I'm gonna be honest.
I am completely impressed because that tells me he was planning this. He knew Haley's was going
Right.
to vote the other way,
Uh huh.
and he wanted to cause a little bit of confusion
Right.
because now I think he knew there were only going to be four votes if he didn't vote the
Mhm.
other, if he voted the other way. So
Mhm.
now, because they already weren't really trusting Haley with how close she's gotten with Tyler,
Mhm.
now he can flip it and say, "Oh, look, guys, he's been wary of Haley from the start. Remember, he said
Right.
in the beginning that she was flirtatious with him, and any woman that flirts with
Mhm.
him, he doesn't
Mhm.
trust her." So
Right.
he's been eyeing Haley in terms of gameplay. It would not
Mhm.
surprise me if we saw nominations of Haley and Caitlyn.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised either. Honestly. I mean, he set her up, and now he's HOH. She can't even do anything about it. It's
She can't.
interesting because when Caitlyn flipped, I was like, "Well, she's in trouble with someone in her alliance." No, but she wins. I'm like, maybe the key to win HOH this year is to backstab your allies. You'll come out the next on the other
Hey,
side of it with an HOH.
I completely agree.
Uh, I'm like, this is like a really interesting coincidence. But yeah,
So,
I don't. That's the thing about Scotty. I just don't know what he's gonna do. I'm scared he's just gonna listen to Tyler, and it's just gonna be someone else taking out who's not on that like the level 6 side, and who also, is voting with them.
Yeah,
And so I don't know.
I
We'll
could
see, I
definitely see
guess.
that. Now, on one end, I think that I honestly believe, unless Scotty really gets duped by Tyler, I
Hmm.
honestly believe that Rockstar is going to be safe this week because there's no feasible reason for Scotty to target
Right.
her. And I think on a macro sense, Scotty understands that. And if Tyler were to push too hard for it, I think Scotty would realize what's happening.
Hmm.
So I don't see her being a target this week.
Hmm.
I don't see him coming
Yeah.
after Bailey either. Um,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
I don't.
Bailey, she did a good job of kind of like lessening, making her target lessen
Mhm.
over the week, despite how upset she was with Chris being on the block. Um, so I think that she might be okay, but it's just that she's always the one easy to throw up if someone doesn't want to get much backlash. That's
Right.
what my fear for Rockstar and Bailey is that they don't really have anyone. If you put them on the block and someone's like, "I'm coming for you," they don't really have that in the house, that type of security. So that's why I'm always just kind of. I hate when the people I like have no one because they're so easy to get out.
Yeah, and I could
Yeah.
definitely see that. But I think in the hierarchy of removing one
Mhm.
of those two, that if
Mhm.
you're going to go that route, Rockstar is the bigger one to get rid of.
Right.
That
Yeah.
everybody be like, oh yeah, it's okay if she goes.
Mhm. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like Bailey has made enough side alliances and really
Mhm.
over the past few days done enough to kind of get to know people a little bit more.
Right.
Where she's
They're not
been
talking about putting her on the block as much anymore. So Chris leaving probably technically helps her game out, because she's not that person that who's the backup. If we can't get Chris out, then we'll take Beatty out. So in that sense,
I
she
think it
maybe,
improves her game immensely.
yeah.
I think this is
Mhm.
as much as it sucks for her, this is the best case scenario for her.
Right. Right.
She's
Yeah.
about to slide under the radar, at least to jury.
Mhm.
Now, what I am interested in seeing is, of course, next week we know is about to be a dud.
Mhm.
Unless, and here, so I have a theory. Hear me out on
Mhm.
this theory.
Okay.
Um, Summer of Steve 2018, as far as I know, is out the house. Now
Mhm.
we've seen Big Brother kind of mess with a power or mess with, creative decisions or whatever in the past.
Mhm.
My theory is that if we don't see Swaggy C on social media by, let's say, Sunday, if he's not on
Mhm.
social media by Sunday or Monday, I have a
Mhm.
theory that they are going to do a battle back. Here's why. Number one, they said on the power that on the if evicted, you'll have the chance to come back. And on the
Mhm.
fourth week, it will automatically be used. Now they did say on there that, and this is kind of puts a wrench into my theory, that
Mhm.
the fourth person automatically comes back. But what if they
Well,
decide,
it's used on them automatically,
yeah,
right? Mhm.
so it wouldn't surprise me if they went back and said, "Oh no, we just meant that it's used automatically," and that
Mhm.
Chris, whoever's evicted this week, and whoever's evicted week 4 will then compete to come back into the house.
Now the only thing is that interview with Chris, he got way too much information from what happened.
And that
So
shot a hole in it for me today. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking too because I was trying to figure out what kind of. They said they have a chance they can come back, and I think Julie said something about a task or something they have to complete
mhm.
successfully to get back in. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly what she said, but I also had kind of that same type of theory was, well, maybe it's not the everyone that's evicted, but maybe the last person that was evicted would then have the opportunity to go up against the fourth evictee. Like if Chris,
Mm.
well, Chris is if he's not if he got too much information, so now he's out of the picture. But maybe the person who was evicted this week would go up against what's this is the third eviction, right? This week coming up.
Yeah, this is
Maybe
number
they'll
3.
go up against the fourth evictee. So I guess we have to see what kind of information they get when they are evicted. I don't know. And maybe they'll go up against the fourth evictee and one of them will go back in the house. I don't know. I don't think they've ever done this before, so we can't really. I don't know if we have anything to go by to see how they would typically do a power like that.
I could
But I don't know.
totally see a Lawan situation happening next week
Hmm. Hmm.
where they're like, "Oh, I'm going to come back anyway." Um and go ahead and vote me out. Like say it's Winston.
Hmm.
Dear God, I hope it's Winston. Say it's Winston like, "Oh, well I get to come back automatically. So just vote me out." And then it's a
Right.
competition against say like it's freaking Haley or something
Uh huh.
and all of a sudden he loses the competition. He doesn't get to come back in the
Right,
house.
right, right,
Like
right.
that
I would
would
love
be
that.
that would be absolute gold.
Yeah, they've played down Winston's crazy on the show episodes, so casuals have no clue how psycho that guy really is.
Hmm.
So when he's really like in trouble, I'm very curious to see how that pans out, how that looks.
Yeah. Hold on, real
Then
quick.
he was okay.
Sorry. Hey, I'm recording right now. Oh, you going to bed? Oh Lord. Okay. Well, did Alexis ever come? Okay. All right. Well, y'all get some rest. I'll call you bright and early when I gotta get up. All right. Love you too. Bye. Sorry, that was my wife telling me she's getting ready to go to bed. So I can
Okay.
edit that out. So
Okay.
with my daughter yelling in the background. All right.
Oh my
So
goodness.
go ahead, say what you were saying. My fault. You
No,
talk
I
about
was just saying
Winston.
that Winston was he was so incredibly intimidated by Chris, and it was just so obvious. Like he would have in his mind all this stuff that he would say to him, and then he would just come out with like, you know, cool story or nice meeting, and he's like, oh, I
Mhm.
already showed him.
Okay, can we go back to that real quick? Because I want to just talk about how stupid that was. Like he said, "Cool meeting." First and foremost, it's your ally in there gathering
Right,
information from
right,
the other side. So
right.
you should have kept your mouth shut because Tyler could have came back to you and be like, "This is what they said." Number two, people as somebody who claims to be a super fan,
Hmm.
people meet in that damn storage room after an HOH
Right,
all of the fucking time. So
right,
what about this is new?
right.
Like, are you
Yeah,
that?
he's just so bothered, man.
He is just, oh my god. Like I was like, my favorite
No, if
picture
he
is the side by. Say what?
no, he said the side by side.
The side by side picture of Winston and then that little toy that you get from the dentist office that has the big eyes and the big mouth. It's just literally an eye and teeth, and you wind it up and it chatters.
Oh, right, right.
It's a side by side picture of him and his face, and it's that face.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what his issue is, but he is very intimidated, and he was just so uncomfortable. You can see they were like sitting them out apart on the eviction sofa.
Oh yeah,
And
oh yeah. They weren't
then
even
after the
close to each
speech,
other.
you can see that he was seething after Chris finished his speech. I was just like, this guy, he is so stereotypical. That's all I would say about Winston.
He is so mad. I cannot believe it. I think it's so funny how everybody's preseason prediction when Winston's
Hmm.
interview first came out and everything,
Hmm.
everyone's like, "Oh, I love this guy. He's
Hmm.
he's gonna make it far. He's gonna get to
Hmm.
the end." And what we get on the feeds is this paranoid mess, and everybody's like,
Right,
"What the hell is this?"
right. And this controlling, like when he was freaking out about Sam, like 1 second he's calling her an idiot, and the next second he's saying she better use her power on me. It's like what?
Which is another
It's
reason why I think Winston is going to be the one. I
right.
will die laughing if next week one of the level 6 members wins HOH and
Hmm.
they're just like, oh, let's just put one of us up and
Right.
act like we turned on each other. And Winston's like, oh,
Oh
vote
my
me,
goodness.
I'll go.
That sounds like a plan that Angela and Rachel would come up with. They keep talking about staging fights. And that's like their game.
Angela is so damn boring. I'm sorry.
That's like their
God.
game. Like, yeah, we should like totally fight so people don't think we're friends. I'm like, okay,
Like
y'all do that. I
people
can't wait to
talk
see what
about
that looks like.
people talk about Casey.
Uh-huh.
And at least Casey has a good social game in terms of
Right.
she has
It's
relationships with
true.
everybody.
It's true. It's true.
Who the
It's
hell does
true.
Angela talk to?
No one. Who's Rachel talk to? I don't even
I
see them on the
think
feeds half the time. I forget they even exist.
at least I think Rachel has tried to talk to. She's talked to like
Okay.
Haley and talked
Okay.
to of course Caitlin
Mhm.
and she doesn't branch too far out of her line. JC too.
Mhm. Mhm.
So she at least tries. I've never seen Angela strike it up with anybody outside level 6.
Well, that's why people have started calling her crop top mats.
Oh
Crop top
God.
mats because
Now hold on. Now hold on. Hold on now. She's not that bad.
you
Matt
don't
is a
think
whole
so?
nother level of useless. That is an
I think she's
insult,
pretty.
and
She gets pretty close.
I that is an insult, and I may not care for Angela, but I will not let you slander her like that. That is an insult. You owe her an apology because that is not even close.
Oh my goodness. I mean, at least Matt would, scream in a high pitched voice anytime, someone
You
went at
serious, bro?
Raven. So,
God, that was so classic. I just I can't help but think about BB19 and the wasted potential. Um, because Whistle not really could. Anyway. Yeah, yeah. So I think she dropped a little bit. So let me add her back. Hold on. Um, give me a second here.
hello.
Hey,
I was laughing just a little bit too loud. My cheeks hit the phone, and it was all go from there.
that's a new one.
Yeah, my cheeks. I have the chipmunk cheeks, so I laughed, and my phone started flipping out on me.
I get it. It's quite all right. It's all right. My beard has hung up on the phone on me before, so
Okay.
uh, so okay. So yeah, I won't let you disrespect Angela that bad. Because all Matt did was eat cereal. At least Angela has talked strategy with somebody. Matt just sat there
True.
and did whatever
He
whatever
talked to Raven. They sat in the HOH room every week and talked about how they would run the house. That didn't count.
Oh God. And I've never I think what made me turn off 19 was not the fact that Paul was running the house so
Hmm.
cleanly, but was the
Hmm.
fact that Raven was just annoying.
Right. She annoyed everyone, and I kind of feel bad a little bit, a teeny tiny bit after the fact. But it was just like she was not in a relatable or endearing or sympathetic character at all. And I mean, part of it may be because she was just taught to play up her illnesses, but yeah, live feeds definitely was not for her at all.
No, she had a her GPA was dance. So good God. Which one of these times I think we need to do a special episode and talk about kind of uh, 19 being such a weird, I don't
Hmm.
know, because I have my theories on it and I loved Josh's win, but
Hmm.
anyway, that's for another time.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think we all have a lot of theories.
yeah,
I have a couple.
because honestly, if you want to talk, as much as Paul annoyed me last season, and as much as he kind of
Hmm.
is annoying as a person, I
Hmm.
think he should be up there with one of the greats. Just because if you convince an entire group of people to throw a running competition to somebody on crutches, who on Mount Rushmore? I,
And it was like you said, it was a weird season. He had a lot of things going in his favor because people's mindset in the house was that he's the fan favorite, and so many people in the house were like this fame whores. Well, they were more concerned about having people like them than winning.
yeah,
So they're like, well, if Paul is the fan favorite, we better do what Paul says, so fans will like us too. And it's like that has the exact opposite effect. You did not make yourself likable; you made yourself unlikable because of that. So I don't know.
absolutely. No, I agree 100%. I'm with you. I'm not saying by any sense that he played against stiff competition.
Oh, right.
I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
He, I mean, technically, if you want to look at, because the way I judge Big Brother is not the way a lot of other people judge Big Brother,
mhm.
where like the social game is what's most important. And it's not really like your ability to convince people or manipulate people to do things that you want them to do. But that's what I think Big Brother is. I think people who are able to do that are more impressive than people who get to the end just because people like them. That doesn't really take much of anything, just of just being a likable person. So it's just, I guess it really just depends on what you judge what Big Brother is supposed to be about.
Yeah, I because I'm with you. I judge more on the social aspect because you never know what kind of competition you're going to get.
Hmm.
You never know. Like so far, I think this time last season we had more endurance competitions than we had of the Q&A or crapshoot HOHs. I
Right, right.
personally enjoy those because it takes an emphasis off
Right.
um, being a physical player and puts
Mm-hmm.
more emphasis on the randomness of it all and who can win week in and week out. It makes
Right.
the game better when we see Caitlin's winning HOHs
Mm-hmm.
instead of Brett's and Winston's and Fessie's. It gives
Right.
the game a little bit more. Okay, now what are you going to do? Which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons why I kind of downgrade Derek's win so much because not only was the cast kind of, but that
Mm-hmm.
that battle of the block twist
Right.
really
It
worked in
plays
his favor
over.
because there was
Mm-hmm.
an even smaller chance that a minority alliance could
Mm-hmm.
control it. So
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
like,
Battle of the Bank was horrible. I
yeah,
never want to see that again in life.
like don't get me wrong. I feel like if Derek played again, he could make it far because
Mm-hmm.
he has that
Hard.
missed. He has a similar mist that Dan has.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that that battle of the block really just kind of solidified that he was going to control that season. Um, so yeah, I
Yep.
agree. Like I have more respect for the Derricks and the Dans than I
Mm-hmm.
do the Rachels cough rigged. And the and more of the uh and then even Janelle Pierre's now. I love Janelle, but
Mm-hmm.
she did not make smart decisions socially. She just
Mm-hmm.
could win a lot.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother tangent. But
What I was gonna say about Derek is that
yeah,
he, like, technically on paper, if he was to sit down and write down his strategy from top to bottom, that, his strategy was perfect. It's just that his I always say that he was playing for the game on easy, though. It's like, yeah, it's a perfect
mhm,
strategy, race strategy. That's what most people should probably try to do if they were, in that situation. But he didn't really have any obstacles or anything that in his way, so it was kind of hard to be like, he was a great player. It's like, yeah, he's a great strategist, but we don't know how good he would be against someone who is as intelligent as him or as good in strategy. And maybe that's why the fans want All Stars so bad. They feel like maybe they'll have a couple of people that are smarter in the house. Make the competition stiffer versus having one or two people in the house who are who get the game, and then everyone else is just floating around waiting to be picked off. So I don't know.
yeah. I just
I don't
and
like
again,
Derek. I don't. I admit it. I'm very open about it now.
I mean, I get it. I get it though because
But
I kind of
I, I respect his win. It's just that I'm not as impressed as I would be if he would have won against people who were more intelligent. That's
But
all.
see, I'm the exact same way because again, I think if you put Derek, if you do an All Stars too, and you pick the right people, Derek
Hmm.
still makes jury. Does he win? No,
Right.
he
Right.
doesn't. I think there's only one winner who I think could go back in the game and make the final two again, and he already did it, and that's Dan
Right.
Giesling.
I know you can
And because even Dr. Will got conned, even he got caught in All
right.
Stars. So
Right.
you
Right.
know, I think it's one
Right.
of those things where people kind of overhype some of these later season wins. Like
Hmm.
I think if you put an all star or an all winners cast, Andy Heron does better than Derek.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think
Actually, I always like clown Andy because I don't like him either.
yeah.
But I always secretly say that he played a really good game, a really good floater rat game. It is a respectable way to win, Big Brother. I just don't say it to him. That's all.
Now you know what won me over about Andy's game, and
Uh-huh.
because I had to stop 15 halfway through because of all that crap and kind of go back and back watch it at the end.
Hmm.
Um, what sold me with Andy was the double eviction when he flips the house on Alyssa. And the
Hmm.
way he does it, and I can't think of it in the moment in time right now. If I went back and kind of rewatched the feeds on it, I could tell you. But
Hmm.
he planted that seed of doubt beforehand. The way he mastered those double evictions,
Hmm.
the evictions of Alyssa, Judd, Amanda.
Hmm.
No, that was it because I think there
Right. He
was
got
the
Amanda.
Amanda eviction,
Hmm.
and he was able to plant the seed that it was Alyssa's fault and got her
Right.
out in the double.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
the
On the
way he
way
did
out
it
the
was
door, Amanda is literally helping his game after
yes.
he, got her to do it. Basically, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he played a good game. He was the best. He definitely deserved to win his season. He was by far the best player that season. It's just this season's so tainted. So now he's kind of like this winner of this really tainted season that most people don't even want to acknowledge existed.
Yeah.
So. He played a rat game. People don't like rats. I mean, so it's tough for him. But if I remove emotion and all that from there, I can look at his game and say he played, a really good, respectable game in terms of Big Brother.
So two things on that front. I feel like JC is playing a similar game. We'll get to that in a
Okay.
second. We'll kind of wrap up with that.
Okay.
But you had mentioned that people don't like that rat game and
What's
how
his
he
June?
plays,
But
kind of
yeah.
how he seeks the validation.
Mm.
My question to you is, man, I lost my train of thought. I had it. So scratch that. So let's talk a
Okay.
little bit about let's talk about JC.
Okay.
Let's talk about the game he's playing and how he's kind of he is being a rat. He's running information between both sides of the house. He's loyal to Tyler, but that's about it.
Right.
How far do you really see him making it in this game?
It's so hard with JC because he can be a little off-putting sometimes with people, and but I don't know how much it's getting on people's nerves right now. This kind of how he's kind of snappy, and he loves going around calling people dumb and stupid and and stuff like that. So like the gaming part of him, I think that he's trying to play the game more than a lot of people in there are trying to play the game, and he's not really aligning himself like obviously with one side or another. But he's voted with level six side because that's what Tyler is doing and who he's with. But I don't know. I don't know because it has been a couple of times where people have thrown out using JC and KC as pawns, even though they're part of level six. Kind of just like, well, they'll just be the one who have to go if it comes down to that. They got to protect themselves. So it depends. It depends on how much trouble the rest of level six is in. If they may just need someone easy to throw up on the block, it could be him. Um, I don't know. It's hard for me to because I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, there's so many factors with JC that
Yeah.
I'm just really seeing, and I'll be honest. I don't understand a lot what he's saying on the feeds.
Do you have to take a Yadis sometimes when he starts talking?
That's exactly what happened. So it's hard for me to really understand his game. Like I think someone says, he always has like really kind of sly stuff to say, but they don't understand him. So maybe they just may miss it. It goes over their head, so it's not getting, it doesn't rub them the wrong way. But that's what happens when I'm listening to him talk. I'm like, my eyes start to glaze over. I'm like, I don't understand anything he's saying. So that's probably why I can't really read how his game is going.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want to necessarily go through each house guest one by one and kind of talk about where they stand. So if you're
Mhm.
listening to this right now, it's at earliest Friday. Look out for I'm going to do a tier ranking of the players in the house. So look out for that. It should be posted on the website soon, kidsworkarounds.com. You can follow me on Twitter to see the link when it posts. Now, what I do want to ask you, Crisilia,
Mhm.
is let's I want you to give me four players.
Oh Jesus.
Um, four players, and we're gonna leave
Okay.
Tyler out of it.
Okay.
Um, I want you to give me four players who you think are positioned to make a deep run in the game. When I say deep run, we'll say give me four players who you think there's going to be a really good chance they're in the final eight.
Oh Jesus. Okay. I see Bailey. I think she can make the final eight as long as she keeps her cool and the wrong people don't get HOH. Um, gosh, leaving Tyler out of it. Um, I would say JC has a good chance to make it there. I feel on the spot because I like to take a minute to kind of when I have a question like this, just kind of think through everyone. And I feel like I'm going to name people that I don't mean, and later on I'm going to change my mind. But I'll just tell you what I can think of right now.
Okay. Well, you know, what? I'll tell you what. Let's do it this way. Let's briefly talk through everybody,
Okay,
and
okay,
you kind of give your opinions, and then after you kind of given your opinion, then
mhm,
you tell me if you think there'll be one of those people there.
okay.
So let's go ahead and start with Tyler. Let's
Tyler. So
look at
obviously,
Tyler's game, and you tell me if you see him there.
definitely Tyler is going to be at the top eight if production has anything to do with it. Um, because I mean it's obvious that they like him as the narrator of the season. And it's hard for me to just go by his game because technically he's making a lot of mistakes that would probably be a problem for um, other people, but it probably won't be for him. He has if for this week if he somehow ends up in trouble, which I doubt. He has Sam that could help him, or he could use his power that he can use over the next 2 months to save himself. Um, so I
Oh,
think
now
he'll
hold on.
make it.
Before you go further, let's talk about
Okay.
that power because I think people are
A little
upset
confused about
about
how it
it
works.
and calling it overpowered. But
Hmm.
I think when you reread it and see what it
Hmm.
is, it's
Right.
only a one-time backdoor saver.
Right. Well, it's kind of like an idol if you watch Survivor,
Right.
and he has to know that he needs it before he uses it. My only problem is that it shouldn't be 2 months. You
No,
should have to use it over the next month.
I
So
get it.
I've said that the power is not actually that overpowered because of what it does. It's just that he has it so long. Like if he could manage to get himself 6, 7, 8 weeks, he can get himself to the end of the game by using that power. So we'll see how it works out if he knows how to use it and when to use it and all that. We'll see how
Yeah,
that
I think
works
as
out.
long as somebody doesn't know that he can't tell anybody about
People
it.
talk too much. People in the house talk too much. He'll know
Yeah.
when he needs to use it.
Right. So and that's I kind of think that's my other thing. As long as he keeps it under wraps,
Right.
he
I
won't
don't
have
see
to
him.
use it. It won't be flushed away.
Right. Right.
But I think if it ever gets out, they're gonna
Mhm.
make him flush it either by telling him up front, "Oh, we're gonna nominate you," or "We're gonna backdoor you,"
Right.
um,
Right.
because he can't take the risks then. Uh,
Mhm.
which is why I think he didn't even tell Sam.
Right. No.
So
It's smart. It's smart that he didn't tell anyone.
oh yeah, it's absolutely smart.
That's
It's
why I
the
think he had it because he's the only person in the house that's disciplined enough to keep his mouth shut about it. Everyone else would have said something.
absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. If Chris had it, he would have told Bailey and Haley would have told
Right.
Rockstar. Rockstar would let it
Right.
slip
Right.
to Caitlyn,
Right.
and dear God. All right, so
Exactly.
let's move on to Winston. How are you
Mhm.
feeling about Winston? Does he make the final eight?
I feel like Winston does not make the final eight, mostly because of his temper, his attitude, his ego. He was able to hide it because he always really talks to you know his boyfriend, and the girls are level 6. So he's able to keep under wraps. Like that's what Chris should have been doing, just written to like 3 people instead of going all over the house, talking to several other, with putting out there that he has kind of like this ego that I'm gonna destroy everything. I'm this big bad player. He needs to be more like Winston and keep it to limited people. Um, but I don't see Winston making it because of his he's crazy.
I agree
That's basically
100%.
it.
All right, let's
I think
move.
Brett has a much better chance to get there than he does. I don't think both of them make it.
So let's move on to a person that's guaranteed safety for the next 2 weeks, or guaranteed to be in the house over the next 2 weeks, and that's Scotty.
Hmm.
New HOH, and then next week, if he does get evicted, he's coming right back.
Hmm.
As far as we know. So
Right.
Scotty, tell me, do you see him in that final eight?
Um. See, Scotty is that character they cast that you're supposed to think that it's like a Ian or Steve, and of course they both won. So it makes me want to say, yeah, he'll definitely be there. But I don't know. He doesn't seem as smart as they are. Or at least not as smart as Steve. I didn't really watch Ian on Steve, so I don't know.
Ian was very smart. Scotty is not in
Okay.
Ian's league in terms of
Right.
brains.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, it's like I know he looks the part that he should make it far. I just don't know if he really is that person. So I'm iffy on him. I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about the new purveyor of Zen. Let's talk about Sam, Sunshine
Okay.
Sam.
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, I think Sam has a good shot because, like you said before, no one's going to want to waste an HOH on her. She's one of those people. So I think she can make it.
All right, how about Rachel?
Rachel, Rachel. I know nothing about Rachel. But she does have a better game than Angela, you said, socially, right? I'm going by what you said because I don't really watch. I don't watch them on feeds, so I'm not quite sure. Uh, but no one's really naming her right as a target.
Yeah,
So
nobody's
maybe,
really naming her.
yeah. Um, I feel like if Rachel leaves, it will be because they could not get out Winston or Brett. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
I can't.
I can see that. Yeah. Um, somebody who I think is guaranteed to make the final five is Casey. What do you think? What do you think about her making the final eight? I think she makes final five. But what do you think about her making eight?
I see. I can see her making 8 better than I can see her making final 5 right now. But it's also, I will admit, it's hard for me to read people's games when they don't really talk a lot of game themselves because I don't.
Right.
It's hard for me to see where their mindset is. I know she's rolling with level 6, and I believe that she's probably at the bottom of that alliance. So I don't know.
I
I don't
am
know.
I am of the belief that Casey is just kind of lying low as much as she can, and
Mhm,
that she will turn it on in a few weeks. At worst,
mhm,
she becomes Gen City.
mhm,
At best, she is the Ian scenario where Ian, excuse me, Ian first he got on everybody's nerves, but then he laid low
mhm,
and turned it up at the end. I could totally see her pulling that off
mhm,
and kind of working that angle.
mhm. I will see. I can't add anything to that.
All right. So how about Miss Caitlin?
Caitlin. Well, people have thrown around the idea of her of being able to use Caitlyn as a shield or she'll be a goat that anyone can beat, but she is way too destructive to anybody in that house. I'm telling you, they have to get her out. Because the thing about her is like you may not know whose game she's gonna mess up, but it's gonna be someone's game she's gonna destroy just by being herself. So I can't
She already blew
imagine
one up.
right. Several really.
Yeah, yeah.
So um, if they're smart, they would get rid of her as soon as possible. I don't see her getting to the top 8 unless she just drastically changes the way that she behaves in the house.
Doubt
And I
it.
don't see it because I think it's pathological. She's like, it's like ingrained in her. So, like, she's whining to Tyler about, Angie saying that she would be in trouble if she was, you know, all over the guys the way that Caitlyn is. And she's like, and she's doing this while she's like clinging to Tyler. So I'm like, well, you do have a boyfriend at home. At first, I thought maybe they had an open relationship. Um, so it's like she's crazy. Like she doesn't see. She has a hard time seeing her own faults, and she can't really rein it in. And last night, she really saw that. She's like, I'm being the person that Betty says that people are saying I am. I'm like, yeah, you are.
I
That's exactly
mean,
right.
again, I try not to hold it against her because I don't know your age and I'm not gonna ask, but I think about to like when I was 22 or 23,
Hmm.
and yeah, I had some
I
self
wasn't that
awareness.
neurotic.
You said what?
I say I was not that neurotic when I was 22 and 23.
I wasn't that neurotic,
uh,
but I definitely know that I couldn't see a lot of my own personal blind spots.
mm,
Um, but
yeah.
I wasn't that out there. Like,
I mean, she's in the house with a bunch of people who are around her same age, and they're not that off. So I don't know if I can just blame her age.
yeah.
I
So
don't see her growing out of it anytime soon. But yeah,
all right. So we already covered JC a little bit. Let's talk about Haley.
Haley.
I think she has a lot of savvy. I think she's very savvy. But
Mhm.
do you think she survives the final eight?
I I have a hard time seeing it, mostly because of the way Scotty set her up for this week. She doesn't really have any allies. She's been made to look like she's not reliable as an ally, and I don't know, like who does she line with at this point,
Rockstar, and that's it.
right? So I don't see how unless she wins a couple of HOHs and comps that keep her safe. I don't know. I would like her to get further, but I don't know if she will.
Yeah, I like her perception. I like that. You know, of course, she was the one that convinced Swaggy on night one to save her group and coined it as,
Right.
oh, we all moved in together. So she's
Right.
got a lot of savvy and smarts when it
Mhm.
comes to the game.
But she's being
So
scared, and that is her. I think her downfall.
yeah, yep,
She's like on the defense, and she's playing scared, and you can't do that if you want to get far in Big Brother, unless you got a
exactly.
big audience that's around you that's actually Because I mean, it's not like level six is playing great. It's just they have Tyler on their side, so they don't have to do anything.
Right.
So if it was the other way around, if Ty, if it was if Tyler had decided to go with the sacred six side of the house, then it would be level six that was getting picked off.
One by one.
And
Mhm.
right, so it's
Okay.
not that they're playing great. It's just that they have the person who's running the house on their side right now, and Haley
Um.
does not.
Okay. So I know you compared Angela earlier to Matt. Does she make it as far as Matt?
She might, yeah. I mean, it depends on how well level six does, I guess. Um, as far as like the comps goes and keeping their numbers together. Because one thing about this game, a bit better the way it's cast, is that the level six type of alliance where everyone's bland and boring, but they're kind of like the popular kids that everybody want to be with, but they don't fit in, so they kind of just like on the outskirts or whatever. As much as they are boring and not interesting to watch, they are loyal to one another and they stay together through the games. And someone tweeted me last night saying that that's probably why Tyler picked their side to go with,
Hmm.
because those types of alliances are more loyal to one another. So it really just comes down to if level six does well with the comps and how far they make it. The other side is like in shambles. So there's not even the other side anymore. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, like I said, it's kind of merging to become a mess, and we're going to see
Yeah.
excitement pick up before long.
Right.
So I think I know your answer on the next one, but Angie Rockstar should make Final Eight.
Don't think she makes it. I want her to so bad. I love her so much. She's a great person, a great human. Like she kind of deserves her rock star title, I think, because
Yeah,
of who
you know
she is as
what?
a person.
So somebody made a good point. I don't know if you ever listened to Rob Has a Podcast or that whole section. Taryn Armstrong, I think
No,
it was, made. Oh no, it was. I think it's Brent Walgermine who's on there. Made the
Brett.
point that Angie could very well just be controlled by Twitter. Like that could be the next twist in the house, because she says everything that if you look on like the Twitter, the BB20 hashtag, she
Right,
says everything that
right,
people on there are thinking. The
exactly,
problem is detrimental to her game. She knows Tyler's running things, but
right,
she's told everybody that she knows Tyler's running things, that she's
right,
coming after him.
right.
So she's really created this target. And that's why I kind of say, and again, we'll talk about it before we close out of here because we're getting ready to go in a second. But
Uh-huh.
that's why I say that, again, Twitter has this big idea of how they want the game played. But
Mhm.
when you start playing the game that way, you're not going to last long. And so, yeah, I'm with you.
Right. You
I
have to
could
be smart about it. You can see it, but you got to be smart about who you let know that you see it.
exactly.
Yeah.
It means nothing to have a good read on the game if you can't
Exactly.
execute. Just
Right.
ask Davon Rogers,
Right. Exactly.
because that is the queen of that. I have never seen
Mhm.
a person read the house better and not do shit with it.
And it's interesting because the first time she played and was evicted, she was up against Meg, who was like the polar opposite
Exactly. But
of her reading the house. It was
put herself
crazy.
in that
I have
situation.
never in my life seen anything like that before.
Like she
So
put
yeah,
herself in that situation when
yeah.
she confronted Clay for no reason.
Hmm.
When Clay asked her what she was doing and she just
Right,
snapped. Like
right.
she's not her
She
own
did more
downfall.
like Bailey, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
anyway, all right. So
I
let's stick
understand
with
her what she
Bailey.
feels. Like, who are you to question me?
Right.
But I understand that emotion. But when you play in Big Brother, that's the thing about the black players. Like cast, they don't cast people who that are going to be able to like kind of keep it all, wrapped up in a way that that doesn't. It's not all put into the rest of the house, and then they end up on everyone's, short list to evict. It's very complicated trying to navigate Big Brother when you're black because you have all these things that already kind of are working against you, and then you have to respond to every situation perfectly. And
Right.
while I understood her emotion at that time, she couldn't react that way.
Exactly.
So it's this
So
new
you
thing.
mentioned Bailey, and I think you had said earlier when we kind of skimmed by it that Bailey
Mhm.
could make it that far. You still stand that way?
Yeah, I still think that she could make it to top eight. I do because I mean, she has a good. She's good talking with people one on one, and she's good with people. She does it. As long as it's not up to Tyler and and Caitlyn, I think she should be okay. I should knock on wood or something though, because because you never know. But I think that her chances improved a lot. I hope that she gets the Power App. She has a lot of alumni who are pushing for her to get the Power App. Um, so I'm gonna go vote, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll be voting for her too.
But of course, when she gets the Power App, people are joking it's gonna be something like really like that's not gonna have a big impact on her game or make it any better or easier.
She needs to pick
So
upgrade because I bet you upgrade is a veto upgrade
yeah,
twist.
she better think of Beyonce or something. Um, like, oh, upgrade. Yes, let's do that. She
Like
need
I
to pick
kind of
it.
feel like I honestly feel like it's what it's like. There's three choices left, but this is the last one that
Mhm.
you can pick. So I think it's what it's upgrade, identity theft, and there's one more.
I don't
Um,
remember.
I don't remember either. So, but either one out of those two, I think upgrade is the best one because I feel like identity theft is going to be like stealing a vote or something.
Right.
Um, but anyway,
Okay.
okay. So let's all talk about. We got two more people. Brett, does Brett make the final eight?
Brett. I think Brett has a better chance than Winston of making, unless they're like
Mm.
on the block together. He wins POV and Winston goes because of that. Um, I can see him in the top eight. How
Okay.
many people have we done in the top eight already?
I think we put Tyler there.
Uh-huh.
I think you put Scotty there. We weren't
Okay.
sure about. We put Sam there. We weren't sure about Rachel. We
Mm-hmm.
put Casey there.
Mm-hmm.
We put the doormat Angela there,
Mm-hmm.
and we put Bailey there. So there's two slots. So really, the last two people they kind of have to make it there based
Okay.
on
The last
the,
who
the
was it
last
again?
two are Brett and Fessy.
Oh God, Fezzi. He may bite first drawer or something.
I,
He might just barely
I
make
think that's
jury.
exactly where he goes. That's exactly where he goes. He's the first juror.
Yeah.
Fessy is the one that somehow accidentally gets evicted on the double
Right.
because we always hype up the double to be this big deal, and then it's like somebody random wins it. Like the first double, we're gonna have like a Sam HoH, and Fessy just goes home.
Right, right. I just see it. I see it very clearly.
So like
Yeah, I don't see him in the top eight.
I keep thinking back to 18 when Corey just out of nowhere won that HOH during the double, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Right. Yeah.
So anyway,
Uh,
okay.
yeah.
So that kind of concludes what we're gonna talk about today. And like I said, I'd love to do another one of these maybe in the middle of the week where we talk about kind of the greatest players of all time. We kind of go through our list or whatever.
I
I
would
think
not
that'd
be
be a
good
lot
for
of
that one.
fun. Um, I did mean to read LS's notes. I'll probably put them up
Oh.
on the site. One thing I do kind of want to talk about, this is just kind of my personal notes, and please feel free to chime in when you want to. I
Mhm,
just kind of, it's hard for me to follow along on Twitter now
mhm,
just because of, I think, how weird Twitter has really gotten. I'm not one of those people, which I mean, okay, I talk about like I've been on Twitter since like '09. So I talk about how wild it used to be, quote unquote, back in the day or whatever, and how it's kind of toned down now. And then yeah, a lot of that's for good reason though.
mhm,
But we kind of have this shift where I hate blaming young people, but you have a lot of younger folks who aren't really experienced or versed in the world and
mhm,
really understand like what malicious racism is.
mhm,
Like we've had three incidents now, right? We've had the Angela Rachel incident,
mhm,
we've had the Brett incident, and we've had the Caitlyn incident. For those of
mhm.
y'all not
Okay,
aware, Angela and Rachel made a comment while tanning that was pretty bad. Brett just made a dumb statement, which I'm used to hearing white people say all the damn time. And Caitlyn did the thing that white people just love to do and just kind of can't not do it. So
mhm,
anyway, there's a difference between those three things. To
mhm,
me, there's a big difference between a malicious racist person,
mhm,
a person who makes a racist statement,
mhm,
and a person who is ignorant.
mhm,
I don't feel like any of those three situations were malicious. I feel like there were two racist incidents.
mhm,
No, I take it back. I feel like it was one racist incident, one incident that's ignorant, and one that's kind of wrapped up in both. And I kind of just, it kind of bugs me because people just go, oh, that's it, they're canceled.
Hmm.
It's like,
Well, I'm sorry. Uh huh.
oh no, no, I was gonna say, and you know, again, I feel like it's one of those things where, again, we know Angela's boring as shit. I get it,
Hmm.
she is.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's one of those things where, you know, people were like, oh, well, Brett's canceled. Okay, well, the way to handle that is exactly what Tyler did to an extent. Tyler said, don't say that.
Hmm.
Now, he didn't go into why he shouldn't say that, which I wish he did.
Hmm.
But the way you correct that, if you're in a real world situation, you say, look, Brett, it's not okay to say something like that because it insinuates that you think all black people look alike. Like Chris
Hmm.
and Devin look nothing alike. End of
Hmm.
story. The
Right.
way you handle a Caitlyn situation is you don't need to say that word. There's
Hmm.
no reason for you to say that word.
Hmm.
It's not worth your time or worth your while. Don't
Hmm.
say it.
Hmm.
The way you handle an Angela and Rachel situation is, yo, what you said is racist. That's not okay. Rachel
Hmm.
has seemed to show remorse for it when she got called out on it
Hmm.
by production.
Hmm.
She has seemed to show remorse. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the Sunday episode when she got the crap app and she started crying. She thought it was in response to what she said. So my thing is, we don't have an Aaron or Gina Marie. We don't have that.
Hmm.
Um, we don't. I know it's kind of hard when we have somebody like Angie Rockstar in the house who completely gets it from a racial standpoint, from an equality standpoint.
Hmm.
Rockstar gets it. She
Right.
does. But what you
Hmm.
have to understand is your everyday average white bread person
They don't
doesn't
understand it.
understand that. And you have to kind of, I know it's annoying,
Hmm.
whatever. I'm saying this as somebody who grew up under the tutelage and the learning of two people who lived through the civil rights movement.
Hmm.
You have to understand their background and how to
Hmm.
correct it. Because if you correct it and you fix it, then I guarantee you somebody like Brett will make the notion to understand. Caitlyn might not because she's just fucking crazy. But a Brett or a Rachel, I feel like would try to understand and improve themselves. And I kind
Yeah,
of feel
but that's.
like that's the thing is we've got this mob mentality or mindset where it's like,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, you're good. You're good. I've been ranting.
Okay. No, I was going to say that a lot of times when it comes to racial dynamics, when it comes to Big Brother in particular, where you're sitting there at home and you're watching, and you can pick up on, people's the way that people regard things, have their outlook on the world and their viewpoints. And a lot of times when people say certain things, it's kind of like a window into like their mindset about racial issues and this in general. Like, does it matter to Caitlyn? I mean, there's no way that she's in her 20s and doesn't realize that, there's it's disrespectful for her to say the N word when it comes from black people, especially the N word that she said.
Yeah, because she picked
The
that hard
version
ER.
of the N word.
It wasn't an A slippage. This was that hard
Right, exactly. So it's difficult because at that point it's like, well, if they don't respect, if she doesn't respect me from on that level, to not say that word, then how does she feel about race issues in general? And it's kind of like a warning sign. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't tell you everything they think, but it's a warning sign against, okay, she doesn't respect me. I can tell that she doesn't respect me because she did this. Or, and Brett and Winston, they just remind me of the type of people who would go to like a college fraternity blackface party. They just have that that general overall kind of like persona working for them. And I mean, Winston's problem with Chris, I believe, is largely that he's black, largely. But it's
Oh, that's
difficult.
Winston's problem. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's difficult when they're not saying things blatantly. They're not like being like completely overtly racist. They just like little side digs here and there. And it's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. And I know it gets frustrating for a lot of the fans watching. And on Twitter, we're just I use a lot of hyperbole in a lot of things that I say. I'm like really over dramatic with my tweets and the things I've said. And I think that a lot of people are that way on Twitter, where it's just over the top, and it kind of does feed off of one another from that standpoint. Like my anger towards Caitlyn and Brett and Winston is nowhere near the level of GM or Aaron at all. Um, but it's just kind of one of those situations where it's hard. I can't like defend them in any way
Mm-hmm.
before, because it's kind of like, it's just I don't know. It's just difficult when it comes to racial dynamics because I want to be the level-headed person that's explaining to the white BB fans why it's not okay, even in a song, to repeat this word, and they just don't get it and they don't want to get it, and then that just adds more to the animosity and like the wars that goes on. I mostly stick to my timeline now though, so I don't really read a
Yeah.
lot of BB20 timeline. I follow so many people who watch it, I don't really have to go into the BB20. um, but every once in a while, I'll see someone saying, "Just because I don't like Chris, it doesn't mean I'm racist," and I don't know what they're talking about, and I'm like, I'm just gonna leave.
Yep. Just leave it alone.
But it's like that's what I think that it stems from though, where people are kind of just like really over the top about their dislike for Winston and Brad and Caitlyn and the things that they say on the feeds or have said on the feeds. Um, because you just have this feeling like they're part of Trump voters, and and then you look at the news and you see all the things that are going on, what's happening to minorities
Hmm.
and immigrants, and all that anger I feel like just bubbles up on Twitter now. It's like because people when they don't feel when people feel like they don't have control, it's something. It's like it makes them angry, and Twitter is like the only outlet that a lot of times I feel like people have, and it's spilling over into Big Brother. I wish it wouldn't, because I
Yeah.
watched Big Brother to kind of break away from the world a little bit. But then you have these situations that occur and it kind of just brings you right back in. So I do agree that, people can be a bit over the top with, their rhetoric when they're angry. But I look at it, I guess because I'm over the top too, I look at it as like this letting off steam. But if you just want to go to the tag and just read about the game and the strategy and all that stuff going on, then yeah, you probably don't want to see all that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my thing. Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna sit up here and act like Reddit is pure gold too, because
Oh my God, you're right.
Reddit is a mess too. And as much as they try and act all high and mighty above,
Hmm.
Big Brother Twitter, it's still a mess over there.
Right, right.
And I think my thing is I enjoy this game so much. I enjoy watching it so much, and I feel
Hmm.
like you, I can kind of step back and look at it from an analytical perspective or like from a
Right.
mental perspective.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of afraid of that going away because of
Right,
kind of this
because of that.
pandering.
Right.
Yeah, and like I'm kind of scared of I'm
Hmm.
scared of the moment that we have another racial issue with
Right.
like an Aaron or Gina Marie type, and that
Right.
ends the show because we're coming off of 18 was boring in the beginning, but that mid game was so
Hmm.
amazing from the poly flip onward.
Hmm.
We saw Vanessa Russo in 17,
Hmm.
and Steve in 17 was such a once they dropped Battle of the Block, it was so fun to watch.
Hmm.
Um, Austin getting evicted barefoot. We just had Celebrity Big Brother, which was a major success and just entertaining from start to
Hmm.
finish. We're
Right.
having shaping up to be a fun season with season 20. So
Right.
we're getting this
I
great
mean, it's
game
difficult.
back
Right.
that after the racism in 15 and how boring 16
16
was from
was
a
right.
TV standpoint, I was afraid
Mhm.
we were going to lose it.
Right.
And so I guess I don't I'm scared for that to happen, and I'm with you. I get it. I get why people are mad. I'm not
Right.
saying you shouldn't be mad. If you mad about it, you mad about it,
Right.
and
Right.
nobody here can tell you differently.
Mhm.
I think what I'm saying is the approach. Just because we already got crazy fans out there who go and dox people and find out and try and get them fired because they don't like how they're playing.
Mhm.
Um, like I I just want people to be sensible. Let's talk about the game. Let's have fun.
Like pick your
Look,
battle,
yeah, pick
basically.
your battles. And I think
Right.
that's my thing. Like again, I'm
Mhm.
30. I'm pushing
Mhm.
30. I've learned to
Mhm.
pick my battles. And
Mhm.
there are some of those things that I'm just like, you know what? Just like you said, you open the hashtag sometimes, and you know what? This ain't my
Mhm.
fight. I'm finna go. Like,
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
and I just wish people would get that. And again, I have to remember that a lot of the Twitter audience is younger, and so
Mhm.
they may not have
Mhm.
picked up on that or learned that yet, and they're willing to fight those battles, and they got that kind of energy. My old
Right.
ass
Right.
just ain't got it.
You're not that old.
I know I'm not, but comparatively speaking, like compared to them, I ain't
Uh-huh.
got it. So,
Right.
I don't have that kind of energy,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
but Crisilia, I thank you so much for jumping in and pitch hitting last minute. Um,
It's
we
no
went on a little long,
problem.
but it's fine. I think we had good conversation.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, appreciate you asking me. I've never done this before, so hopefully it comes out on the other end okay.
I'm pretty sure it came out okay. I'm pretty sure they're gonna like you more than they like me. So,
Oh, no.
um, but you can follow Crisilia on Twitter at Crisilia Love. So that is KRAZILIA Love. Um, You can follow me on Twitter at EagleEye1906. You can follow the Kids Wear Crowns at the KWC blog. Check out the website, thekidswearcrowns.com. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes. The link is on the website. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. I think we're gonna do a winners ranking podcast. I want that to happen. I think me, you, LS, and if you've got somebody you know who's really interested in chopping up and talking Big Brother, let's try
Okay.
and set that up because I feel like that'd be
Okay.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'll give it a go. See how it works out.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else you want to plug? Anything you want to push out there?
Nope. I don't have anything.
All
I just go on Twitter and live tweet.
right. Well, yeah, y'all check her out. If you can't quite remember what I said and don't feel like rewinding, just search the BB20 hashtag. You'll see her pop up on there.
Mhm.
Criselia, thank you so much. And anytime you want to hop on, even on the regular podcast, non Big Brother podcast, you are welcome to.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.